Good morning, everyone. We are the production team. Before we start, let me explain the definition of production to you. So what is production? Production is the action of making or manufacturing from components or raw materials, or the process of being so manufactured. Of all the 5 stages, which are extraction, production, distribution, consumption, and disposal, production depends on the consumer's needs. For us, however, production is something that is out of our control, something that depends solely on big companies and transportation firms.
So, who is responsible for fixing the problems that the production stage is causing for our environment? Well, the answer is everyone. It's easy to assume that because we don't have a direct role in the production stage, that is someone else's job to worry about the waste that it leaves behind. However, all of our actions, from buying an apple to tossing a wrapper, have consequences of the bigger picture. Every one of us is capable of making a change, individually, but more importantly, as a group. So, before I talk about how to use our influence in order to solve our food waste problem, let's talk about what those problems are. Collecting all of our individual research, we have narrowed it down to 5 main problems: shelf life, packaging, transportation, organization, and education. My colleagues will elaborate.
So now I will be talking about the global waste situation with respect to its shelf life. So what is shelf life? Shelf life is the time period for which an item remains healthy, useful, and of course edible. A new research from the FAO states that about 2.2 billion euros could be saved if the products were given an extra day's shelf life. So where is this concept of shelf life important? Processing, packaging, and organizational management. It can be seen that very small changes in processing can have large effects on its shelf life. For example, countries like France and Germany lose a lot of its cheese produced simply because of a small change in its pH, which ranges from 4.5 to 5.5, which affects its shelf life. Similarly, in India, when there was Green Revolution, there was way too much produce that all of it could not have been sold to the markets, and therefore a lot of the surplus remained back, exceeding its shelf life and thereby going waste. This falls under poor organizational management. But it is notable that the shelf life of products can be increased if it had proper packaging, but this could once again lead to wastage of packaging materials, which my next speaker will be talking about.
So the next problem is about packaging. The problem is people design a lot of types of packaging for keeping their food. And every time they want more food, they also have to buy some new packaging too. Like the more food, the more packaging. For the example, Germany is the country with the highest amount of plastic waste in Europe. They cause 37 plastic waste per person per year, and that's only packaging. However, the reason why packaging is very important for the food is because of how people transport them. So we think that everyone should pay attention about the problems of transportation too.
In current days, the transportation is a big global problem because some of the countries have old technologies and food is spoiled during this process. For example, in Russia, from 40% to 45% of potatoes and vegetables are spoiled because of poor organization of transportation and preservation. I can take Vietnam as another example. According to the Saigon Times, each year Vietnam loses 700,000 tons of meat, 7 million tons of fruit and vegetables, and 800,000 tons of seafood during the same process. Now that we have seen the 3 concrete factors, processing, packaging and transporting, we shall move on to aesthetic factors, which are the underlying problems for the issue at hand.
So now I'm going to talk about the problem of food loss in production because of improper storage management. In India, wheat rotting in warehouses and it leads to 1,000 tons of food wastage. And in Vietnam, it's the same, but caused by the lack of investment in technology. Japan, by contrast, they implemented an organization method called 5S. The list describes how to organize a workspace for efficiency and effectiveness. By identifying and storing the items used, maintaining the area and items, and sustaining the new order which reduces the food loss. However, it's not just the responsibility of the enterprises. We all should be concluded. So now, my teammate is going to talk about the importance of education.
As my colleagues have previously discussed, production represents a huge part of the food waste economy, and it wastes an unbelievably high amount of food needlessly. The production stage represents 39% of food waste in Canada and 41% in Russia, the two biggest countries in the world. In Australia, 12% of all of the food industry's outputs is wasted in this stage, and in Vietnam, a considerable amount of food is lost or damaged during production, storing, transportation, and distribution due to lack of investments in technology and infrastructures. This is clearly a huge problem, but no one seems to really realize or understand. This is due to miseducation, or a lack thereof, and a complete absence of awareness. So, my team and I have configured a call to action which they will now explain.
Unfortunately, as consumers, there's not much we can do directly regarding the stage of production, as it doesn't really affect us directly. However, our role in the global economic system gives us the opportunity to choose where to buy and what to buy. And this is where the concept of Minute comes from. Hashtag Minute is a movement that wants to raise awareness amongst people, especially youngsters and teenagers, regarding the huge problem of waste of food and materials that happens during the stage of production. This movement wants to encourage people to go buy from local shops, avoiding the consumption of products coming from big companies, and then uploading a picture on the internet of the food, creating a trend using the hashtag Minute, which stands for minimize pollution, increase awareness, no more waste.
So, what do we need? It's actually very simple, just social media. As we all know, almost everyone is using social media these days. And you can't ignore the fact that social media advertising is powerful. We want to use different types of social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So we can reach people of all different ages and from all different backgrounds. Now, I want you to think about how often you are convinced by social media advertisement to think about an issue, to do something, to go somewhere. This is the power we want to use to raise awareness for a cause most people don't even think about.
The solution that we are offering might not be the silver bullet, but this is one of the few options we have to make producers realize the damage they are doing, since we are not involved in the production process itself. Some issues we might face are as follows. The first point one can think of is that not everyone has social media, which might be a big problem since it is the most important thing we actually need. When you think about the people who have social media, most of them are teenagers who are not really interested in such kind of topic. Besides that, there is already a lot of similar content in the internet, so we need to make it really catching and involve people to do something. We also need to take into account that it might take a lot of time for Minute to become a trend, since there are already a lot of similar trends happening.
And now we're talking about the benefits. So, what are the benefits? We categorize it into three sections: the social, economy, and ecology. For the social, there will be two agents working on here: the customer and the seller. The customer will get good quality food with low prices, and for the seller, the local farmers will get more income. And second, the economy. There will be less food waste, and the local market can now compete in the big market. Lastly, it's the ecology. There will be less waste because there's a reduced number of packaging. And then secondly, the environment friendly. There will be doubts and worries about this kind of project, but we have an example of success. For example, the Indonesia youth movement called Raga Muda. So it's basically promoting a unity in diversity because of the racism and religion problem in Indonesia in several social media platforms. It reached about 200,000 template and hashtag use among the youngsters and young adults.
So I'm going to ask two questions. Who here uses Instagram or other social media apps? Now, who of you use Instagram or social media for less than 3 hours a day? Look around and see how much social media actually impacts our lives. During the production phase, the main problems faced are transportation, packaging, shelf life, organization, and education. Social media can help stop this food and waste problem in the production phase tremendously. The impact of social media can encourage teenagers like you and me to help stop and prevent this food and waste problem. Jack will now conclude on how and why social media can stop this problem.
I know, using social media to solve the problem is a really common idea. In current days, people already use social media to solve the problem, such as Ice Bucket Challenge. 70 million people participate in this challenge. As Begas told you, in Indonesia, people join the challenge to face the problem of racism. That is why I believe we can hashtag Minute in the Minute. One of our production team teachers, Serena Fenjone, taught us, I became us, we. So now, I became we, and we became everyone. Let's do hashtag Minute. Thank you.
Hello everybody, I am Aishwarya Anand and I'm from India. I'm from the PSBB group of schools and I'm a part of the World School Forum in 2018. So what has this seminar taught me? This seminar has taught me to look at everybody's point of view in a certain problem. This seminar has also taught me to come up with realistic and practical solutions. While preparing for the presentation, we had initially come up with a government-level massive program, but we all realized that none of us will go back home, ask our governments to implement the same. So we knew we had to come up with solutions that all of us could carry back to our schools, our home, and talk to our family and friends about. And people have told me that my English is really fast. So being with such a diverse group, I learned how to talk slow and make everybody understand my points and put across my ideas and views on this topic across the table very easily. Thank you.